Will peanuts tofu? Well, yeah, kind of. But can they tofu better? Hello friends and not yet friends, welcome back to Mary's Test Kitchen and another episode of Will It Tofu, where I hijack the traditional method of making tofu and apply it to non-traditional ingredients in the quest for high-protein, low-carb tofu that we can pan-fry, deep-fry, boil, and braise while still holding up like the real deal. Last time, we saw Amylase work its magic transforming thick, starchy quinoa milk before our very eyes. And eventually, we made quinoa tofu, questionable as it was. But after that, a bunch of y'all voted to give peanuts another shot. So I'm back with my little bag of white powder. Nothing that'll get stopped at the border. This is Amylase, an enzyme your own body makes to break down starch into simple sugars. Of course, this channel is about the power of plants, so we'll harness this plant-derived amylase instead of the grosser alternative. Will it work? Let's find out. What I have here are dry roasted peanuts and raw blanched peanuts. Blanched in this case just means the brown skins of the peanuts have been removed. Originally, I was gonna do a pound of each, but turns out I only have 200 and something grams here. So let's find out how much exactly we have. 279 grams. Good. I wanna put at least 3 times the amount of water because I love to use a lot of water for some reason. And like get it all over the table, that's good too. I don't remember how much peanuts tend to absorb water, so I'm just gonna add lots. I have a feeling that it doesn't actually absorb that much, but just gonna add lots, why not? We don't wanna restrict the plumpness. 1 down. Time to... Today is just not my day for gracefulness. This scale has been through some ish, and I don't know if they make or sell them anymore, but I bought this like over 10 years ago, probably over 15 ago. Wow, I'm old. Once this dies, and I'll tell you when it dies, I want a scale that you can plug in. That would be just so much better. And then for the next one, 1 cup is 144 grams, in case you wanted to know. So a pound is 454 grams. We're at 450, 452, 454. Excellent. Okay, we have the raw and we have the roasted. Put these in the fridge. It'll be about 20 hours probably, maybe up to 24 hours. And we'll come back. For you, it'll be a second. For me, it'll be a day. Whoops. Did I just leave my phone in the shot so you could discover my editing trick? Oh no, my trade secrets. Anyways, let's magically drain the water. But don't waste it. We'll use it for milk making. Speaking of, let's get to it, starting with the raw blanched peanuts. You might be noticing this is not the usual trusty nut milk bag. You saw me use this new one last week with nary an explanation. Look at the difference. I must have thrown this in the dryer at some point and shrunk it because they are cotton after all. It's gotten so stained from milking pigmented ingredients like black beans, walnuts, and turmeric, and it's so stiff compared to the new one. All that to say, I guess when your old nut milk bag is looking like this, it's worth the $10 to buy a new 2-pack. Link in the description if you want a set too. The milk comes out just as smooth, just as silky. And I didn't have to use nearly as much muscle as usual. The raw peanut fiber left over is pretty dry. You can tell by the feel and by the way it crumbles. Fluffy. I'm going to make it even drier so I can make it into flour and store it in the pantry for my keto baking experiments. So this is going in my dehydrator. The milk is going in this pot, full of fat, protein, and a bit of starch. It doesn't smell like anything. Raw peanuts are very bland and woody tasting, as I have explained in last week's Will Peanuts Cheese episode. It's not at all like the roasted version, and I don't expect that to change very much after we cook it. It's been quite some time, but if you can remember, The first time we made peanut tofu, I let the peanut milk rest at first to let the starch settle to the bottom. After skimming off the protein-rich milk, some starch was left at the bottom of the bowl, but not as much as we would expect knowing the macros of peanuts. This time, we'll try using the power of amylase to convert the starch into sugar. Sugar, being water-soluble, should be relatively easy to wash away, so to speak, after the tofu is made, in theory. Oh no, I got most of the clumps, but I want this experiment to have the best chance, so I'll add it another way. With a little water, add a 1/4 teaspoon of amylase enzyme powder, and mix until dissolved. And then stir it in. This way we can be sure that it's evenly distributed in the peanut milk. A number of you suggested adding the amylase before cooking. I was already thinking that, but I love to know how all our great minds think alike. Now I'm going to bring this up to between 150 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 65 to 71 degrees Celsius. Because this type of amylase, alpha amylase, works better in those warmer temperatures. But not too high, or the enzyme will be denatured. That is, it'll stop working. And that's why I have this thermometer here so I can keep an eye on it. "10 minutes later, it's starting to bubble, which I don't expect until like 180 or 90 degrees, so clearly this thermometer is not properly calibrated. Good thing I have my backup in this trusty laser thermometer. It's official, the enzyme has been inactivated. That said, the peanut milk hasn't gotten thick, so the amylase must have already worked on the starch. Or maybe almost all of it, I don't know. Just for reference, the last time we cooked peanut milk and left in the starch, this is how thick it got. How about that for your next cream sauce pasta, right? But anyways, there's like an iodine test that we could do to detect if there was any starch left. If I had some handy, I would, but I don't. So let's allow the milk to cool back to about 150, 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Mix up a new solution with a 1/4 teaspoon of amylase and water and stir it in. This time, I'm watching like a hawk. Caw-caw! Adjusting the stove to keep the milk in that tight temperature window for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I got a 1/2 cup of room temperature water and a bag of gypsum, aka calcium sulfate, one of the original tofu coagulants and my personal favorite. Curiously, after 10 minutes of watching this peanut milk and keeping it within the ideal temperature for the amylase we're using, I can't tell you for sure that the texture has gotten any thinner. I mean, I feel like there's a difference, but it's gotta be ever so slight. But by now you must be thinking, how does it taste? Any different from the previous times we've made plain blanched peanut milk? Yeah, it's less woody tasting. I am really surprised that that woody taste apparently was coming from the starch element. Guys, this is pretty exciting. However, it's time to get the peanut milk back up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit so that when we stir up our coagulant mixture to redistribute the gypsum and then pour it in slowly while gently stirring the milk, the temperature will come down to about 165 degrees Fahrenheit, which is our target coagulation temperature. And why? Just because that seems to be the ideal coagulation temperature for soy tofu, and that's why it's our target coagulation temperature in general in this series. So I'll cover the pot and let it sit on that still warm stovetop for at least 15 minutes. Afterwards, the curds look similar to the first time we made peanut tofu. For reference, this is how soy milk looks after coagulation. So far, it doesn't look like the amylase made any difference other than the flavor. So I'm just gonna drain it. Clip up the sides of this cheesecloth. maybe like some people, it needs alone time to self-improve. After an hour, it's time for my favorite tofu press, which now doubles as a vegan cheese press. As if I could love it any more than I already do. Links in the description if you want to get one yourself as well. Or your second. I have 3 of these now, actually. Drain away the extra liquid, and the whole thing can go in the fridge. While we do the whole thing again, but this time with dry roasted peanuts that are way more easy to get at a regular grocery store. So I really hope this works. Oh no. Gotta do half at a time. Afterwards, these dry roasted peanut curds are more distinctly separate than our raw batch, but still not super promising. We won't know for sure though, until we separate the curds from the whey. Let the whey drain out. Milky looking as it is, yeah, that's not a great sign. I'll let it sit a while. Not long though, because the sun's gonna clock out and so is my endurance. But 20 minutes later, my friends, I do not like what I see. Curds so tiny they're slipping out of the cheesecloth, even with 0 pressure added. Regardless, this is going in my favorite tofu press. Oh dear, let's hope for the best. The next day, it's the moment of truth. And truthfully, I'm not optimistic. Let's go. Let's go with the nastiest looking version first. Let's get rid of the whey. Actually, this is all of the whey from this dry roasted batch that I reserved and kept in the fridge, because we don't waste things around here. Hey, it doesn't taste half bad. It's a broth. It's a peanutty broth. You know what? This would be good for like ramen, any kind of peanut noodle. Peanutty soupy noodle. That would be good. Let's pop this guy open. Leave your predictions in the comments below. Oh, it's buttery. It feels really like a nice light moisturizer. Oh wow. We did it again, folks. Peanut butter. Lovely. Wow, doesn't that look luxurious? Let's do a taste test. Tastes mildly of roasted peanuts. Not strong like a typical peanut butter. It's actually quite nice, to be honest. How about we add a tiny bit of flaky salt to that? It's very mild peanut butter. Remember we started with a whole pound of dry roasted peanuts, and this is all we got. So please let me know in the comments what you want me to do with this, about a 1/4 cup of super mild but undeniably fancy peanut butter. I have higher hopes for this one. Let's drain the whey first. Wait, taste test. Refreshing, slightly peanutty, not offensive, not woody at all. It's nice. Moment of truth. This texture is much better. Dense, not as squidgy as the original peanut tofu. Remember, this is what it looked like, holding on to a lot more water. Today's block is looking suspiciously like the fresh block of peanut cheese we made last week. Did the probiotic culture from last week and the amylase from this week unlock the same tofu cheat code? It's not bouncy like soy tofu though. It's a completely different thing. It's creamy, but solid. Taste test time. It's like cream cheese without any tang. And get this, none of that raw peanut woodiness. Even the aged peanut cheese still had that, albeit less and less the more it was developed. My friends, this changes everything. Think of it. Use the amylase to get rid of the woody flavor, and then ferment and age your raw peanuts. We can't go back in time, unfortunately. So tell me, knowing what we know now, what should I make with this fresh peanut tofu? Comment below and I just might make it. Speaking of making things, there are beans that aren't gonna amylase themselves, so I gotta get going. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't already to push the plant-based boundaries of what's possible and what's sensible. Bye for now.